Good morning, everybody. This is DearMamaSal. Thursday morning. You know I love Thursdays. It is a chilly 11 degrees, which is 51, in northern Washington state. It's sort of a very overcast day. The good news is I do have my raincoat with me today, which is an improvement on some days. And I'm looking forward to having a productive day. Just looking there are a number of houses along this boulevard where some people obviously mow their lawns and others don't. And as you probably know, if you have a piece of land that butts against a boulevard, you're responsible for cutting that part of the boulevard. Some people apparently do it more diligently than others. It's the ones where the grass has grown so long it's gone to seed that you go, okay, they haven't done that for quite a while. Yeah, okay, never mind. So, I have been extremely tired this week. Not quite sure what's going on, but that's how I felt. And I've come home from work exhausted. And for those of you who wait for the vlogs to go up, you want to be very grateful you've had any at all, because basically I've fallen asleep and had to do the vlogs in moments when I wake up between sleeps. You know, so I sort of fall fast asleep and then I wake up and I do the first part of it, and then I go back to sleep for a couple of hours and wake up and do the second part of it, and then I go back to sleep for a couple of hours. And hopefully doing it that way I've been able to get the vlogs up each day. For which I'm very, very grateful, quite honestly, because there were a couple of days I didn't think I was going to get a vlog up at all. So if you notice that one vlog went up in the middle of the night, like, or at least probably 4 to 6 hours later than you were expecting it, that would be why as well. Luckily last night, I fell asleep and woke up very methodically. And so even though I did that, I managed to get the vlog up before midnight, so that was pretty impressive. So here we are. And so what I decided to do last night was to give myself a dose of laughter. I thought maybe if I laughed a lot, it would shake whatever it is that's trying to interrupt my life here. Now, I don't know what are the funniest memories of your childhood or early teens or whatever, but I'm sure that you've all got them, whether they are, you know, the Saturday Night Live skits or Friends or whatever it is that you really, really enjoyed and had a belly laugh with. Well, in my day, and I know it's a lot older than a lot of you, it was the Carol Burnett show. And the Carol Burnett show was just side-splittingly funny. Laugh out loud. Pray you didn't pee with laughter. It was so funny. You know what I mean? It was just really. And the reason was because they appeared and succeeded most times to do whatever they could to get the other actors to crack up laughing while they were trying to keep a straight face. And I think the funniest part of it was watching that scenario go down. It was watching the actors try and catch the other actor. And sometimes they do it individually, and sometimes they do it in concert, you know, where two of them would gang up on one. And then some of them, they would just suddenly go off script, completely off script. And you know, the other actors would be left there sort of with their mouths hanging open going, yeah, where do I go from here? I cannot tell you how funny they were. And I really realized last night, I went onto YouTube and I Googled Carol Burnett to see if I could get any of their shows. And what I ended up with, of course, was a lot of their bloopers. Now, they were funny enough when they weren't the blooper reels, but the blooper reels obviously were the essence of what it was all about. It was where they really messed up. And of course, they were the funniest of all in some ways. And I ended up watching a series of them. And believe you me, there are a lot of them, because I think almost every episode was a blooper reel. And some of them were just so funny that I was laughing so much that Yvonne came up because she thought I must be doing a broadcast because I was laughing so much. Or rather, she waited until the laughter stopped because she thought I was doing a broadcast, didn't want to interrupt a broadcast. So that was really quite funny. And I said, no, it wasn't it wasn't a broadcast. I was watching Carol Burnett. And she says that she could remember her mum watching that as well. So I was thinking about, we've got lots of different generations of people that watch the DearMamaSal network. So I thought, in the interests of keeping everybody amused, because my suggestion for today is, you know, do something to make yourself laugh, for goodness sake, was that if enough people give us feedback, we might find all sorts of programs we've never watched before. You know, because have you noticed that you're inclined to sort of stick to your favorite one, and you never ever gave a lot of the others a chance. And so to me, I definitely must say that the Carol Burnett show, and for its absolutely groundbreaking humor of the time, would be All in the Family. And groundbreaking because the guy was so bigoted, it was funny. I was going to say it wasn't even funny, but it was hysterically funny. And you understand, this was in a time when being bigoted was quite normal. And I think what they did with All in the Family was make us all realize just how bigoted the people around us were, and maybe we were as well, without realizing it. And it's easier to laugh at somebody else than it is to sort of go out and learn the lesson. But if you watch that long enough, you eventually go, wow, that's pretty sick. And they did wonderful work, both in comedy and in getting people to change their views. And I really want to give 10 out of 10 to the writers of that program. If you've never seen it, it's worth, I'm sure that's also on YouTube. I'd have to check it out, but I'm pretty sure some of those episodes would be on there. Just because so many of us watched and loved them. No doubt about it. And so I thought, if we all sort of contributed to, okay, this is what made me laugh as a young person. that some of us could go back and relive the humor of our time. And I think it is generational to a large degree. Don't you? It's the same as I could almost give you the words to all the pop songs of a certain 10-year period. Obviously in my teens. And when I think back on it now, it was like, wow, there were a lot of songs at that time. And you understand, I was really fortunate that I went through the 60s as my teens. So I started my teens sort of just about the same time as the decade, not quite. And if ever there was a decade to be a teenager, I think the 60s was the most exciting. It was the most exciting in so many ways. We really blew the socks off so many adults in those days. In so many ways. I mean, really, in so many ways. We were so different. You know, I'm really looking forward to it. CNN's got a big documentary tonight on the 60s, and I'm really, really looking forward to it because it's my songbook. You know what I mean? It's the story of my life. I grew up and formed opinions in the 60s. And when I say I grew up, you understand that we all go through our teenage years and go through a lot of shifts. We believe we have the answer to everything around about that time. And of course we don't, but it doesn't stop us from pretending that we do, or hypothesizing that we do, or boring our families to death with the fact that we do. And I was no exception. So, and I grew up in a very conservative family. And as I've said, it mirrored Downton Abbey quite a bit, for those of you who are Downton Abbey followers. So, the 60s were a magical, magical time. And I spent the latter part of the 60s in London. Now you imagine 60s and London all at the same time. That was the place to be. I mean, we're talking Mary Quant and the miniskirt, we're talking the Beatles, we're talking, it was an amazing time. Absolutely amazing. And the funny thing was, and I'm certain that you're all asking that question, was it all sex, drugs, and rock and roll? It actually wasn't. In my life. In my life, it was exceedingly exciting. But it wasn't all sex, drugs, and rock and roll, funnily enough. Not only did I not do drugs in the 60s, but none of my friends did either. I did meet people who were doing weed and stuff, but I can't remember it at all. And I mean, it must have been really scary being a parent of teenagers in the 60s. But it was good fun. And as I said, the programs of the time really reflected it too. I'm just noticing that we've got a teacher's strike on at the moment. And that makes life very difficult for a lot of people. I don't know why. I understand that people want to have bargaining tools. But I always think that going on strike, which means that children are left at home, which means that mothers and fathers who would normally be at work are being forced to stay home to look after their kids and lose income. I don't know, it just, to me, it makes me, I guess I'm not a big union person, bottom line. I understand the unions, don't get me wrong, I understand it, but it's just like, I don't like manipulation, and I find this is manipulative. It says either negotiate or else we cause you, even more problems. And by the way, if you don't talk to your representative, we'll cause you even more loss of work and time. Why does that upset me so much? I don't know, it just does. I think because it hits the very people that can least afford it. You know, the single mum who already is fighting to be able to look after their children. This is not funny. So I'm going back to being funny. When I say being funny, but to remember the fun stuff. Because I don't want to go to work with this mentality that I'm presently in. Alright, so I'm really looking forward to hearing, which programs used to make you laugh until you cried. And I've often said that we are so lucky to have YouTube and things like that, because we can rewatch some of these that we probably thought we'd never see again. And I was amazed how many of the Carol Burnett shows were actually on YouTube. I'm really amazed. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Now, how they get up there, I don't know. But they did, so it was good stuff. And I think what's fun about this is that different shows will appeal to different people. And I think that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it really interesting. Because you realize that some shows just didn't appeal to some people, but others really appealed to people. And I really have to say that when I watched the Carol Burnett stuff last night, I came away from it when I actually stopped watching it, as I was waiting for things to upload. When I stopped watching it, I was a little sad, because I miss what I call those live comedy routines, big shows, We used to have some really great variety shows that were very funny. And they had big guests on, you know, famous actors and so forth, as did Carol Burnett. And that, you know, I was watching one with James Garner on it and another one with Sammy Davis Jr. And you go, you know, these guys must have loved being on it. But you also know that to be on the show meant that you had to rehearse with them for a couple of days beforehand, because all the skits, you know, were really quite complicated. And I was watching one where Dick Van Dyke was in it, and he was sitting on the edge of a couch trying to keep a straight face, and he really had a problem keeping a straight face. And at the end of it, when they ended up doing something that was totally off the script and really hysterically funny, at the end of it, it was so funny. Dick Van Dyke literally just fell off the couch and gave up trying to pretend not to laugh, and he's rolled up on the floor. He's laughing so much. And you go, what must it be like for a comic to be amongst other comics and laugh that much? And I'm certain that for some of you who are close to my age, you will remember Goldie Hawn and the Laugh-In. And actually, I should really... that woman had 12 parking spaces all around her and still didn't get the car straight. She had to reverse back and straighten up the car. There were literally, there were no cars in any of the parking spaces, and she still couldn't get it straight. Wow. I could have parked on the other side. That sucks a big one. Okay, I can do that. Alright everybody, this is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now. Laugh a lot today.